if you would like to tune into what we got going on, which is right now we got Black Mesa, where I have switched over, even though so this shout outs to Wool, who pointed out that watching WoolieVersus streams is like reading the manga, and like watching the YouTube is like
right,
watching the anime. It's such an apt comparison. It's fucking it's
Guys, shut up. We haven't caught up yet. God.
It's great. It's great. So I want to say that Black Mesa on YouTube just hit the point where I had my worst controller foible yet.
Was it the part where it made you go, damn it, I need a cube?
Pretty much. I had an extremely embarrassing encounter with a soldier and a shotgun point blank, and I just couldn't it was really bad, and I went, all right, fuck this. And I immediately switched and grabbed my away suitcase, and I grabbed a mouse, and then I started doing the hybrid. I did a little impromptu on the moment config setup for it, and then at the end of the session I kind of refined it a little bit and whatnot. Came back and then had that ready, but I also had the Steam controller. So then I was like, let me try out the Steam controller, So the cube was available, the Steam controller was available. I went through some of the options and I took a look, and to the Steam controller's credit, there are many different settings you can customize on it with the Steam overlay. Like you can
That's true, there are.
You can set
there are many settings.
There are more options I noticed on that available than like pretty much any other controller setup you can do. You can set the D-pad on the left side to be like a mouse wheel or a weapon wheel, or just a D-pad, or another stick entirely, or a touch to like kind of almost like represent the area of the screen you're clicking on, type of thing, like just touch screen almost. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of options there. It's still an abortion to hold in your hand. It's still
it is the cheapest feeling controller I've ever held.
It is. The Duke was not as cheap feeling. The Duke was was less comfortable. But what are we saying here? It's not saying much. It's not a great controller to hold. I'd rather hold the Ouya controller. Personally, that's where I was at, and
yeah, probably,
yeah, and some angry messages from Steam controller marks out there. There are Steam controller marks. They've sent me videos of the proper configuration that I could have, if I bothered to learn it, I could have played like this.
Oh, Steam controller marks.
It was, I'm like, hey man, there's got to be one for all of them, But yeah. I'm getting DMs about the proper way to set up my Steam controller. But that's fine if you are an anime watcher and you've missed out on the manga. It's no problem. Enjoy. Please, by all means, watch the anime. It's more important that you do. But I was done with that session. I played for about like maybe half an hour with it, and you know what? It worked better than a twin stick. Right? It works better than a twin stick, but it's not gonna replace a mouse.
Of course not.
So I then switched back to my hybrid, and loving it. Been doing great with the hybrid. Been able to, properly use the machine gun. The MP5 was kind of just like a rough go with the twin stick beforehand, and now I'm running it. So I got a stick in one hand with a controller. I got a mouse in the other hand, and it's best of both worlds. So I'm back to the hybrid.
I have no idea how to adequately describe why the hybrid is so upsetting. But it is.
Well,
it is upsetting.
I don't know what to tell you. If it's upsetting, I sure, but it is to me. It's the optimal solution on both hands. A mouse is better than a thumbstick, for sure, for accuracy. But then, to me, a thumbstick is better than a WASD. So that's where I'm at. I will do.
Doesn't your wrist get tired from holding up a whole controller with just one hand?
Opposite. My wrists get tired from keyboarding.
What?
Because it's basically like, depends on where the surface level is, I suppose, right? Like, I feel as if if you have kind of like a table, full support and whatnot, you'd probably be more fine. But like, the angles I was at, it wasn't as comfortable. I don't feel like the thumb was a problem, because I would just basically hold the controller on my lap. My hand was fully rested. There was no lifting of the wrist type of thing. Someone had a theory, and that was that the fact that I play arcade sticks so much means that like my button tapping hand is favoring the right instead of the keyboard hand, which is the left. And I was like, maybe that could be it. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, I super like having a stick in my hand and a gripped triggers and hands, and I like it, you know. So what I did was actually, I feel the same way that I did when I first talked about this on with Overwatch and with Apex, in the sense that like, there will continuously and always be a desire to fix what I'm discussing here. It's like, no, you're not doing it. You need to fix this and change it and do a different one. And I'm like, I'm pretty comfy with this, but I'm for the sake of fun and just seeing how it goes, I got that Steam controller. So I also I'm getting one of those, the thing that everyone links me to all the time, where I've retweeted it and let people know that I've seen it. It's the one-handed Hori, like it's kind of like nunchuck, PS4 pad, PC pad, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird hybrid built in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna grab one of those and see how that feels, just out of curiosity. But like, the controller being held, even though it's like, even if it was cut in half, it'd be fine. But even though it's not, it's like, yeah, it still just sits in my lap. It's like a nunchuck almost. And I feel like those who have heard me talk about it are kind of get tired of hearing me talk about it. Those who haven't heard me talk about it are going to be hearing it for the first time. But it just, I feel much more accurate with the thumbstick, and I feel like I'm never going to have an issue tapping the wrong key when I'm holding my controller. Whereas when I have to use my pinky to do control and shift, and when I have to go over to R.
Oh no, but nobody uses control anymore. Everybody just uses their pinky for shift, and then their mouse buttons.
It's still a pinky button I don't want to press. I don't want to press buttons with my pinky. I don't enjoy that. It's not a thing that I like doing. And moving over to the surrounding keys, and then possibly like fucking.
I feel like this controller hybrid thing is the fucking perfect microcosm of everything infuriating about the way that you play any game. You are jumping through every conceivable hoop possible, to the point of even setting up a cube specifically made to give you the ability to use mouse and keyboard without the problems that you have, so that you can do it your way. This fucked up weird hybrid that no one has intended ever. And you tried a Steam controller before you tried the keyboard. You're insane. Everyone says I'm crazy, but you're crazy.
I'm not trying to convince anybody to play my style. I don't want anybody to copy me necessarily. I'm not out here telling anyone that this is superior. I'm not preaching this as something that people should do as opposed to using the keyboard. I'm just saying that personally, I absolutely loathe the keyboard for directional movement. It's unfun to me. It bothers me. So even putting in the time to getting comfortable with it, like I would with a hitbox, like I did and like I was able to do, it would still be like, I can play like this. I still don't enjoy it.
You're talking about learning a hitbox. A hitbox is like a fucking weirdo, fucked up thing for crazy people.
But do you understand why? But do you know why I'm using the analogy? It's because it's replacing a directional stick with buttons in the exact same way that a WASD replaces a stick with buttons. And I can learn to move properly with the hitbox, but I didn't prefer it. And then besides the hitbox, remember I showed you the mix box?
That one was weird.
That one was actually just a keyboard. It was actually just WASD, right? Do you recall it?
Yeah, vaguely.
Okay. So I used that, and I used the keyboard, and I got used to it, and I was able to play and do shit. And like I was playing like Dragon Ball, and I was messing around with some other stuff at the time, and I was like, yeah, I can play with this. And in fact, it would make certain inputs, like it makes an instant air dash go a lot easier, for example. But at the end, it was not preferred. It works. I can do it. It's not as comfortable to me. And in that instance, there's no extra keys to worry about. That was even optimal because that was just the 4 keys of the direction without any surrounding keys to accidentally hit, for example. So I'm not going to try to tell anybody.
You're insane.
That's fine.
This is like, the hybrid is pretty crazy in and of itself, but you cycling through every single possible permutation of controllers in order to avoid the one that the game was built for.
But did what I just so I just described something and you processed it and then went back to step 1.
Yeah, because nothing you said actually dealt with step 1.
Which is I'm insane.
It's just that simple.
Okay. I'm not again, I'm not going to push.
You know what this is, Woolie?
I'm not going to push it on anybody.
I refuse to learn how armor skills in Monster Hunter work because I just want to play it my way.
It's not refusing.
And be bad at it.
It's not refusing.
Yes, you did. You totally refused to learn.
It is literally a controller preference. It's an extremely unpopular controller preference, but I am choosing config that I like over config I don't like. And you're basically you're kind of saying like, and anyone, and you know, if you're like, no, fuck you, learn bumper jumper. And I'm like, it's a much bigger change than that. It's a much bigger change than that. But at the end of the day, like, it feels more comfortable. And I don't know how else you want me to quantify that. I don't know.
Shit, Woolie.
What value?
I play a bunch of games on controller that I would otherwise, I play Doom Eternal on controller instead of mouse and keyboard, right?
Yeah.
But like, the cube is specifically built for to remedy all of your mouse and keyboard comfort problems.
It is. That's true. You know, and so
it's just so frustrating of game after game after game after game, and now controller preference of like, oh, this is the way, you know, that would be effective, and what comes back is Woolie going, no, I'm gonna do it the Woolie way, and everyone goes, why? That way sucks. And then you go, because it's the Woolie way for Woolie.
But why does it suck?
Why does the hybrid suck? The very first thing that pops into mind is the dozens of games in which every time I accidentally bump my mouse with my elbow, the UI starts to go crazy.
And the last time you brought that up, we talked about how that was fixed. totally turned off and patched out. So when that doesn't happen,
that's been fixed in every game now?
No,
that was happening in Resident Evil like just the other day.
In when we talked about it, it was in Overwatch, and then that got changed, right? But right now, so for Black Mesa, for example, doesn't exist. Doesn't have that doesn't happen. So continue.
Also, for the vast majority of the cases, just the left side of the controller doesn't give you access to enough buttons.
In Black Mesa's case, it does.
Well, I suppose for Black Mesa, then it works out fine.
Keep in mind,
but for most games, it does not.
Keep in mind that I got a mouse that has the 7 thumb buttons on it, as well as 2 beneath the middle. So I have a mouse with a lot of functions that help me. For example, my weapon wheel is just the wheel on the thumb of my mouse.
Oh, okay.
So I can scroll.
So what's the regular scroll wheel do?
So the regular scroll wheel is also a weapon wheel, right? But if I want to go specifically to a class of weapon, it's got crowbar on 1, it's got pistols on 2, it's got machine guns on 3, and so on and so forth.
So you would rather learn to use a mouse with 10 buttons, and you have your thumb and every finger on your right hand be doing everything except for your pinky, than have your left hand comfortably sit on many of those keys with only slight alterations.
It's not actually.
You would rather learn an MMO mouse than play with a keyboard.
It's actually.
That's even crazier than the hybrid.
Can I interject and say that 1, it's my 3 fingers. It's not my every finger. 2, it's not the MMO mouse with the 15 buttons, because that's a different add-on piece. It's a 7 button. It's much less than the 15. The 15 was way too much. I took a look at it and I'm like, that's crazy. That's way too many, and like it's way too easy to get lost in that grid of buttons on the MMO mouse. The circle was much less of an issue, of 7 buttons or so, and it's left click, right click, scroll wheel, button beneath it, thumb. It did it. So again, it's not that I wanted to go into this in such vigor, and I definitely did not want to go into this in a combative fashion, but when you're like, it's so crazy, it's so stupid, and I'm asking you why, the first reason you gave was because it makes the UI change, and then I'm like, well, no, it doesn't. And then the second reason you gave was because it doesn't have enough buttons on it, and I'm like, yes, it did. And then the third reason you gave was because of the mouse functions that are like all crazy in an MMO function. And I just said, no, you don't use all your fingers, and it's just the 7. So all 3 of those reasons have been clearly answered. Do you have another one?
I do not.
All right. I don't push anybody towards using this controller. I don't want anyone to do that this way, but this is absolutely much more comfortable.
I would like you to try and remember this conversation in the future for when you make fun of my goblins and the way that I do things as being silly, and just don't do that, because you are just as insane with this shit.
I will keep it in mind.
Your total refusal to adapt to any situation ever is fucking so crazy.
I will keep it in mind.
So nuts.
Providing that you can do what I just did and not list me a number of false reasons. Then absolutely, I'm totally for you. With that being said, in Black Mesa, I got to the part where...
I'm sorry, hold on. None of those were false reasons. I did not invent them as if they were not true, Woolie. They may not have applied to you directly, but false is disingenuous as fuck.
Okay, well, if they're not applying to me, then they're not creating the scenario where I would have the issue that you're supposing I would have.
So not applicable, maybe, but false is bullshit.
But then why would you use them as a way of saying you're circumventing these landmines? You're jumping over these landmines to get somewhere, when I'm like, these landmines don't exist here. There's no landmines here. The ones you're describing aren't here. They're not applicable. therefore there were no landmines, so to make it look like I'm jumping over them is also disingenuous.
There are these things called examples, Woolie, and if they don't apply to you, that doesn't make them false. That makes them not applicable. I thought they applied to you.
Okay.
You showed that they didn't.
Right. Okay. That's fair. I agree with you.
False is implying a manufacture or a lie.
No.
It is disparaging.
Okay. I did not mean to disparage. I apologize for that. That's not what my intention was. My intention was certainly to look at it and ask you if you had reasons for your feelings, because you had a feeling of this is gross, and
the reason is like I am having PTSD over a million years of LP videos.
Okay.
Where you just desperately only want to do it your way.
Okay.
And you won't listen to anything anyone is telling you.
I mean, for what it's worth, I'm trying to be as contrite about this as possible and say that, like, you know, the way that I'm comfortable doing this is very much against the grain of what the entire world wants.
I would say that is accurate, yes.
So I am not confused as to how outside
like,
my flavoring is.
I am having like a mental breakdown over the idea of you workshopping this fucking abomination of controllers, and you're the same person that I had to tell to drop your shield like 400 times.
Oh yeah, no, because
you wouldn't learn that one thing.
Right, because garbage habits in video games where I'm just like, I'm panicking and thus not thinking properly about the situation are gonna show themselves every time I play something, right? That happens to me in other genres as well, where it's like, Woolie, the answer is to just do this thing in the game, but you're panicking and you're doing the wrong thing, right? And it's like, yeah, that's coming with the challenge of the video game and me personally not having the skill required to adapt to that thing, right? But in this particular context, I'm describing something where I understand just how niche and fucking outside it is. For me, as long as I can walk you through the steps to see how we got here, I don't mind if that's how you feel about it, right? But that's why I always take it from the top and I go, well, here are the list of reasons that I have for why I'm over on this side of the fence. And it's a very weird place to be, but as long as you understand those reasons and they make sense to you, then sure. If you might disagree with them because you don't share them, they're not the same hurdles for you. But if I can describe them to someone and they can follow the path, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
So there's something that you just said that actually like locked it in. Like as to like why is this such a sticking point? And it's because there are many times where I have explained like weird OCD mind goblin shit, the way that I do things a certain way. And my answer will nearly always be, I do it this way because it makes me feel comfortable, or because this makes me feel uncomfortable. And the answer that comes back is usually, well, just don't do that. From you in particular. Just don't be crazy. Just don't do that. And it's like, but if it's about comfort, then those things aren't crazy.
Right. At the same time,
I want my volume at 5 and 10
yes,
or whatever.
I do too. Am I holding the toilet paper in my hand and stripping naked in the toilet? No. But if it's
that's very comfortable.
But it's very, yes. Now here's the thing.
Also, about 30% of people do that. I did a poll and I was shocked how many people also get completely naked to take a shit.
Now do make fucking fun of me for my controller setup. By all means, it's weird. It's totally out there. Throw me under the bus, you know? Let's have fun with
please.
But like, and in the same sense, I'm like, bro, you're stripping naked and you're holding a thing in your hand. That shit's fucking wild, you know?
Woolie, I will tell you this right now, and I think this is why we can't meet in the middle on this. This is why we can't literally agree to disagree. I think your fucking mouse controller hybrid shit is markedly more insane than taking off all of your clothes to take a shit.
Well, you would.
That is my line in the sand.
Of course you would. You're the guy. You're there. You're saying this to me while you're naked, holding the TP roll.
That's right.
What do you want me to fucking tell you? You know?
I desperately need to turn this into a poll because I want to see if it's anything other than 90-10.
Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor? Can you phrase it in a?
Oh yeah, no, it'll be neutral.
And not a typical poll.
What
way.
is more insane? Taking all of your clothes off every time you take a shit, or using a mouse and controller combination for PC games?
Do you want to put in a third option? Do you want to put in a third option that's just like, I want to vote the funny answer instead of being accurate?
I always hate that.
You know, so just give them a place to click that go, I want to vote the funny answer instead of instead of the truth.
I hate doing that because that's always the thing that it ruins every poll ever.
You're right.
Taking your clothes off and using controller mouse.
Yeah.
You mouse and controller hybrid.
Can I just say for the record that, like, I'm willing. I don't even fully disagree with the assertion. If you're, I'm gonna say you're, like, to me, no. To me, we're discussing.
Polls up, everyone. That's on my Twitter at Pat Stairs at.
To me, discussing video game habits is always going to be less of a major thing than clothing and whether you should wear them or not on a global level. But I can probably be convinced.
So here's the thing, because it's so much more important that you're not wearing your clothes in the bathroom than video game stuff. Video game stuff is not that big of a deal, but it's like unconscionable that you would wear clothes on the toilet.
But because it's not that big of a deal, that's why it couldn't possibly be crazier, right? Because everything matters less. It's like, if the option could be at the end of the day, okay, just don't play the fucking video game. Like, then it's like, well, then life goes on, I suppose. I feel like taking your clothes off in any given scenario has much more on the line. There are higher stakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are higher stakes, which is why you take clothes off.
Yeah. But to get back to what I was saying though is just like, you know, with each of those moments of crazy, by all means, I will fucking rip you a new one, and I encourage you to rip me a new one, as I do what is completely outside the realm of norm for playing my video games.
I have a secret for y'all. You know how Woolie's all like normal and kind of cool sometimes? He's actually just as insane as I am. He's just better at hiding it.
A lot of people have been saying that about me.
Just as crazy.
A lot of people have been saying that about me recently. They say that I am just as nuts in very specific ways where I don't. Yeah. You have a wide spread of crazy.
Yeah. I'm a shotgun.
And I have a sniper rifle of like, you're only gonna hit this one shot, but it's a far sight.
Yeah. I'll sign up for that.
You know,
that universal truth shit was out there. Can't believe you tried to start a cult on this very podcast.
I can't believe you framed it that way and successfully hoodwinked everybody into you know. Hey, I established this already, and it is
you can do amazing things if you just reframe the question.
If you are funny, you win. It's not if you make sense, and it's not if you're right, and it's not if you're on point. If you are funny, you win, and funny becomes the truth.
And you could also have math. That also helps.
Yes. Math too. I am going to, in most cases, not have the punchline you have, and thus not win the lore battle. Mm-hmm. In most cases, and I think you know this, and I think you're aware of this power. And I think it's why in most case situations you're willing to engage to the nth.
Oh, I just love to do it.
It is the Patrice O'Neal defense. Funny equals victory.
Dude, this cat smells.
Yeah.
I just picked him up and I'm looking at him and he fucking reeks.
Like, there have been so many times where the room is fucking hostile and comedians are at the table at the Comedy Cellar and they're firing bullets left and right, and the wrong person walks up and like Patrice has like literally, he was in the middle of being thrown under the bus or squished under it for that matter, and literally like the next comic that walked up had to become the heat.
Yeah.
And you just walked up and he took all the heat he was taking and shot it at whoever it was, and they fucking, their shoes got it, the stupid shirt they were wearing got it, their garbage act got it, their fucking haircut got it, their cross-eyed
the whole fucking thing,
that shitty ass phone that they're using got it, right? Your ugly ass teeth. You know, like,
oh, not the teeth.
They got
personal.
Wrecked, and the fucking room lost it, and then that target took the heat off, and Patrice was no longer under the bus. Funny equals victory.
Wolves, we have an update. So we've got about 1,700 votes in. You are totally winning. However, much like I thought, you're winning by way less of a margin than you would expect. You're winning by about 15%.
That's not enough.
Now, that's a lot closer than you would think, right?
But that's not enough. Come on, people. Come on. All right, listen.
Woolie, you don't understand what's going on out here, man.
Out here being your toilet.
Yeah, the toilet.
All right, well.
A lot of people do things that, okay, this is going to ruin your life. Woolie,
you can't ruin my life.
A lot of people do a lot of the crazy things that I do, more than you think. Many, many more than you think.
Okay, so here's what I know I have had that exact thought, but here's what my version is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ye who is not guilty cast the first stone, right?
That's right.
Whoever comes at us for anything, it'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's find out about your life, and let's find the thing that you do. You know? I wish I knew your thing.
This sounds vindictive.
I wish I knew. You're so lucky I don't know your thing, says Louis C.K. Everyone knows my thing. If I knew your thing, ooh.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be 58-42 in your favor.
But
4-6.
Yep. You know how fucking cool would it be if everyone who wrote a comment on YouTube, Reddit, or even on Twitch or anywhere on Twitter would be like, you're super wrong about this. You didn't bother doing that. I don't know. This shit's getting really annoying. And then underneath it, just a little thing that just says, my thing is... and then it just inserts thing. My thing is, I kind of really like it watching animals fuck. My thing is, I don't like, I like the stinkier the sock, the better. I don't know. Like, what is it? You know, you just put a little underneath, almost like flair in Reddit. So it's like everybody can just be like, hey, by the way, I'm criticizing you. I'm throwing you under the bus. And by the way, this is the word that I mispronounce all the time. I've never said this word correctly in my life.
Oh, that's so bad.
And everyone in my friendships and my family knows that I mispronounced this word. But no one on the internet does, so here it is.
Oh, I hate that. Oh, that's
level
terrible.
The field. Even footing. Reveal.
Squash the curve?
Reveal
We
it.
gotta flatten this curve out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Totally. Right now it's imbalanced. Y'all know too much about us. We don't know nothing about you. So when the criticisms come in, I'm like, cool, I'll take that. What's going on?
Oh, man.
Share. Open up.
You know, I said fucking turquoise instead of turquoise up until like a month ago. Like my whole life.
Sure.
My mother drives me so fucking crazy. You know, like the gallery on a porch, like depending on the kind of house you have.
Yeah. Veranda.
She is in her 60s and calls that a gallery to this day.
Right.
And I've never been able to get her to explain why.
A recent one I've been enjoying with Punch Bomb has been her inability. So she always says finally when she wants to say ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Because of finalement.
Well, yeah, English is her second language, so that's right. Fine.
But it's
everybody who's speaking their second language gets a pass.
But sort of, but not really, because she's like actually bilingual. Like she actually has both.
Yeah, I know, but my sister's got like a degree in English, and she still says all sorts of weird, stupid French shit.
I think she got English first. I got to double check that.
My sister still says caché instead of hidden.
Right.
That one word never jumped over.
Yeah. So there'll be like things where it's just like, so finally I decided I'm not going to do the thing, you know, and and I'm like, finalement, you know, but yeah, man, you know, that's what it is. That's what it is. And there, a whole lot of that French related shit comes up with me all the time, obviously, since, you know, Reggie and Min super have the French thing going on. And then there's and then there's my, and then there's my like I sound like I know what I'm talking about in English most of the time, but I'm still raised in.
That's very sweet, Woolie.
I don't have an accent right now. I'm speaking what is masked English. Because
no, I'm saying you just said that you sound like you know what you're talking about most of the time.
Okay.
English.
Well,
and I said that's really sweet, buddy.
Okay. Well, in any case, what I'm trying to say is that every once in a while, despite the fact like if I talked like this the whole time, then everyone would think that, you know, he doesn't speak the English, and expectation.
You gotta get more H's in there. You gotta get
expectations are a little bit. Comment je dis
your JP is pretty good,
right? If I spoke a little,
JP is pretty good.
If I spoke like that, expectations get lowered. It is what it is. But I'm speaking in a much clearer, camouflaged English to everyone, so you're hearing a very clear English accent. And then when it scrapes against something that is hard Quebecois, then it's like, ripped out of reality. Turns out it's not the world we had, right? It's not the same flavor. Every once in a while, folks get reminded that I am not from the same fucking place, and I have a different, you know, I'm coming from a different flavor. I'm Anglophone in Quebec.
Yeah, you don't speak English. You're Anglophone. It's a very different thing.
So, you know, we French Canadians, right, as it were.
I always get the fun one because I got the French last name. So I call up the government, and they're like, "Oh, bonjour, Mr. Boivin, comment ça va?" And I go, "Hello." And they go, you're French? No. Okay, give me a second, and then they transfer me.
Yeah. No, Gasquang was super wrong, but it'll follow me to the ends of the earth, you know? It'll follow me. It'll follow me to the ends of the earth because
you know why it'll follow you? Because of avalanche.
Avalanche.
Yeah, because of avalanche.
Yeah. You know, it was 100% Gascoigne, but like me thinking that there was going to be a French pronunciation just didn't know how to deal with those letters.
I gotta be real. I don't remember that whole sequence like all that clearly, like exactly how long it went on for. But like I do remember having a vivid feeling of like you going for that and be like, yeah, Gascoigne, and like knowing already that it was Gascoigne.
Yes, I remember that you knew.
Being like, let's see how long we can
until he says it in the game. Or until someone else says it. Until what's her name?
And just
says
like,
it.
oh yeah, oh
yeah. You saw ahead. You knew. You saw it ahead. You knew. You know. And I was like,
oh man, that's a crazy name that guy has. Just like knowing in an hour or two someone would say it out loud and be like, oh yeah, oh wow.
But it's worse because you knew what I was going for. And you were like,
absolutely.
I
knew exactly what your thought process was.
Yeah, and I
may have in fact made the same mistake myself had I not already seen it in a preview thing.
But it's tattooed on my back.
Yeah, well, that's the way it crumbles.
He knew.
I handed you the shovel, but you still had to dig.
I did, and you know,
it's pronounced gaslighting. All right, that's pretty funny. That's pretty fucking funny. Every now and then, these guys are actually pretty funny.
Yeah. No, the only thing is like these days, the only thing that is whenever people think that I still think I was right about it, that's the part where I'm like, no, you're not following the truth here, because it's like the code didn't, like, the compile fucking failed, but my attempt at following the C++, the logic in the code, was going through a French thing, and it just fucking failed upon completion.
To be fair, I can understand why people would think that. It's happened. Similar things have happened to me where I'm wrong and then I correct myself and they don't catch it. Because if they don't catch the actual, like, oh yeah, no, it's totally wrong. We are both notoriously stubborn. And it is not out of the realm of the ordinary to assume that you or I would hold on to a factually incorrect statement in our mind until we die.
This is true. It's especially less effective when the meme has grown powerful.
Yes, memes don't help.
When it grows powerful, you're now fighting against a life bar. At first it was just a word, but now that word has a life bar, and you know, what are you gonna do at the end of the day? You gotta just accept it. You know, just take it for what it is.
You know what, Woolie? I don't think I'll ever understand your controller hybrid nonsense, and I don't think you're ever gonna understand you should try it, taking off all your clothes before you take a shit. But I guess we're all just going to have to agree to disagree.
When was the last time I said that? I feel like I used it one time in a way that made you super mad. And then it was like years ago.
That was like 2 years ago.
It was more than two. But
I do remember. I don't remember what it was
because
about,
whatever that was. Because whatever that moment was, from whatever the years ago it was consciously the last time I ever said it.
Okay, because I remember
the moment that happened, I completely removed that from my vernacular, because I didn't like a reaction to it was so surprising to me, because growing up it had always been used as like a way of kind of like acknowledging a meeting in the middle. I didn't at all expect the extreme rage reaction that it got, where everyone was like, it's so infuriating when you won't admit that you're wrong. And I'm like, but I feel like I admit that I'm wrong so often. I don't know. But so I'm like, you know what? That phrase elicited a completely wrong response that everyone had to it. I'm never going to use this again, because I clearly have no idea what it actually means.
It causes, I mean, you're outside the realm of like why this is infuriating, but like it causes, for me anyway, the same type of like internal combustion as like when somebody goes, hey Woolie, you got a second? And you get back to me, you turn around, you finish doing what you're doing, and 10 seconds later you get back to me. You go, oh yeah, hey, cool, what's up, man? Never mind. And then you turn around, right? Like that I would describe the emotion that causes as internal combustion. That is like just just like, what was it though? As don't worry about it, it's not important. And it's like every time somebody like politely explains how not important it was and doesn't say what it is, the temperature rises
a little bit. Right. Yeah. The temperature. that's a good metric for it. Like even right now, it's kind of fascinating. Like this is the kind of thing that I find interesting because, it definitely helps me learn a bit about like perception and perspective. Right. Because like, I know that like I've been, especially as of late, like super, kind of like, almost like self-chastising in a lot of cases, apologetic in many ways, and been like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like I'm freely, quickly going to admit that I don't have the skill to do the thing, or I didn't understand the situation, or, you know, like I feel like I freely put that out there. And I feel like also years ago even, there was that quote where it's just like, hey, if you could tell the whole world one thing, what would it be? And like, I remember like the thing that like stands out to me, and it still does to this day, is don't be afraid to admit you're wrong, because like you want to try to improve and be the best person you can be, best version of yourself you can be before you die. And like, I still believe those words. But even in these moments, right, and even in, I guess, in the heat of debates, like right now, for example, a ton of people are, you know, like in the chat, for example, are like, Woolie, you never admit you're wrong. You never admit you're wrong. No, you don't.
I would absolutely actually agree with that.
Wow. Okay. It's really interesting because I feel like I self-flagellate.
So that's the thing. So that's the trap, right? Because you totally do. But self-flagellation doesn't actually have anything to do with your opinion. Right?
But when I do say...
You going like, oh my God, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did this. But to be fair, right? Any attempt at explanation, which would otherwise necessarily be like part of a process, is taken as excuse. And then people go, oh, well, he doesn't really believe it.
But I don't want to make an excuse. And especially in circumstances where I will... Like,
I'm still here. I'm just getting up to get water.
Yeah, there are circumstances where I feel like I will literally say the words like, yeah, that was my mistake. Yeah, that was my bad. Yes, that was the wrong thing. I mistook that. I didn't understand that. I did the wrong thing. I made the wrong choice. Like, I feel like that freely comes out in many circumstances. And like, if it doesn't, I have to fucking like literally now stop.
No, it does. It totally
It
does. Totally always does. I'm very serious.
So what it makes me wonder. So what it makes me, and so like, at first you kind of go, I'm like, okay, is it possible that even though I say it a lot, that there are times when I stand my ground and I don't say it, and those are the ones that are forming the most memorable moments, for example?
So as Chad is currently pointing
out, right now,
is that what you are doing right now is exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. So let me so like right now, let me talk about what Woolie is, right? Right now, I'm literally trying to understand something that everyone thinks differently about, and all I can do is ask questions. And I'm open to because like you tell it, because right now, for example, I'm saying that I feel like this is something that I say, but I'm walking you through where I'm at, right? And if I were to simply say, you know what, you're right, I never admit when I'm wrong, that wouldn't be genuine to what's going through my head. So that's why I want to try and explain it. And then if you can go like, well, here's these things where you know it clearly didn't go that way, and I'd have to be like, well, shit, you're right, there it is.
So I just looked it up. There's a word for this.
Okay.
There is a legitimate new shit term for this.
Okay.
So you're familiar with concern trolling?
No.
Right. Okay, concern trolling is it's typical like a kind of a gossipy lady way of trolling. It's where it's like, oh, do you look okay? You look like you're not getting enough to eat. Does your job pay you enough? Like, just It's being a bitch under
mother-in-law shit.
The pretense. Yeah, mother-in-law shit. Perfect. What people think you are doing, but I don't think you are actually doing, but it comes off like it is called sea lioning.
What's that?
Sea lioning has a Wikipedia article, not even a fucking like Encyclopedia Dramatica article or whatever. It is a type of trolling or harassment which consists of pursuing people with persistent requests for evidence or repeated questions while maintaining the pretense of civility and sincerity. So it's the I'm just asking questions, man. Like
being passive aggressive?
No, you're actually being polite and courteous.
Okay.
But it appears that you are not actually interested. So when people are like, just admit you're wrong, or whatever about like left or right or whatever the fuck, right?
Right.
People don't care why. They don't. None of these people in chat give a single shit. All they want is, yeah, you're right, guys. That was a big mistake. Oopsie, right? And the instant you open up your mouth to explain how you got there, that comes off not as sincere, but as a way to escape. Because, and this is part of our society, the overall sincerity of any particular person is doubtful. And the problem with that is that you are a stubborn guy and you don't like to admit you're wrong. When you're very much like me, actually, Woolie. You don't want to, how do I put this? You want to admit that you're wrong, but you never believe that you are, just like me, right? So you will claw through every particular piece of, no, but you see, it was this though, or, but actually I was thinking this. And that makes all of these people all crazy.
So I want to even interject here, but instead I'm going to ask you, then what should I do? Because if what you're describing as sea lining,
it seems like you're fucked.
Well, because if what you're describing as sea lining is ultimately an insincere way of deflecting blame, but that's not my intention, then without my words, I have no idea what to do. Like I'm like if you were to take that away from me, for example, to be like, stop trying to explain yourself. Yeah. Right. And this, to be fair, right? To be fair,
it's a video game podcast.
It is. To be fair, to like, you know, the dad that doesn't exist, right? And in most cases, right? I know it's going places, but it has to. But it has to.
Okay.
It has to, right? He was the kind of person that would like very much talk things through to get to the bottom of it, so that like it was not just a like he had that fucking kind of he had like a bit of that like analytical way about him, and then my brother as well, and like had a much more, you know, like sort of like make sure that you can explain an emotion, or at the very least, like, you know, you want to follow the pathway to where someone, like if someone's going to explode, you don't want that explosion to come out of nowhere, right? So for all the things that I became and adapted and whatnot, when you describe something like this, where you say that like your attempt to describe your thought process and how you came to the wrong decision appears to be sea lining, because if it is such, then it is insincere. And it is a way of putting the blame off of you. But I'm like, but really and truly, deep down, that is not what I feel. I just have to use my words to try and convey what happened. Because here's the other thing is, I want to make sure you go like, oh, you're fucking batshit crazy. I'd like to like walk you through the steps, right?
Yeah.
You take that away from me and say, stop explaining why you got there. What am I supposed to do?
So somebody in the chat actually did me a solid, Zelhesia, because they were able to sum up in like a single sentence exactly what the problem here is. The problem isn't even your method of speech. The problem is that this is a misconception on the listener side. So it's all of your fault. All of you listening to us right now, which includes me, I guess. It is a series of, how do I put this? It's so much easier to believe that you're stubborn and you don't want to admit that you're wrong, that even your sincere desire to actually explain how you got there can come off in the listener's brain as insincere. That's why when the situation that you were just describing that took place between you and your brother or your dad or whoever, right? These people are all trusted and long-term members of your family.
Yeah.
Where there's obviously going to be a much, or should be anyway, a much closer rapport than, say, with Professor Luigi, who thinks this part of the conversation sucks.
Well, because it definitely, like, it speaks to, I can see that, like, the moments I decide to, like, step in and reply to a comment or tweet somewhere are when I see moments of what I perceive to be great misunderstanding of my intentions. Right?
Mm-hmm. You've always been bad with the intention thing.
Well, but you also are the same way in that we both are very much like you'd like not but maybe an hour ago at this point, earlier in this podcast, there was a moment where you were like, hold on a minute, that was not malicious. It is very important to distinguish between what is malicious and what is not. And I'm the exact same way. I feel like we've, over the last decade, been able to both rely on that in moments of confusion.
I would say so.
So now then, I'm looking at a scenario where I'm like, this is where I tend to step in and say something when I feel like gross misunderstanding of intention is where I want to say something. Like now I'm like, okay, so is it even possible then to admit fault and explain the steps and not come across as insincere? Is it at all possible?
I don't know. And that's the fun thing about this line of work. Think of because we're talking about controllers. Because this is
deeply upsetting. This is deeply upsetting.
Right? If we're talking about we're talking about left from right or mind goblins or whatever. This is low tier shit. Think of every single YouTuber apology ever.
Right.
And how bad they all suck ass.
Right.
Because on the one hand, it's here's what I did.
But you have
something, the explanation.
But then you have a thing to save. So that you have to look at it. You have to raise the eyebrow and go, and how does it shake? Because
there's the two variations, right? Here's what I did. I'm very sorry. Here's the explanation, right? Yeah. Okay. So maybe I videotaped a dead guy in a sacred place and made a bunch of jokes about it in a foreign country and made myself look like an asshole. I realize now that is very bad, blah, 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 explanation, right? Every time they try and explain, it goes, oh, you're trying to get out of it, right? That's the natural state.
Well, because the stakes are
But, right, if it's like, I did the thing in that video, I am very sorry, and that's the end, then you flip-flop. It's like, oh, they don't even know why they're apologizing. They just want...
Of course. Of course.
And so why is that? Because of the stakes, which means that there's no winning. Now, here the stakes are pride, right? But that's still a stake.
It is a stake. It's very minor. It's not at all anything on the level of what you're describing, because those are the words of someone essentially fighting for their career, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's going to change depending on who's viewing it. different cultures and different people are going to interpret either an explanation or shutting the fuck up and just apologizing as more or less honorable. And that's going to go person to person.
Right. But
so basically what I'm saying is that you have to become comfortable in your garbage.
Right. Right. But
that's the only way I found around it.
But the only reason why I would go through all these lengths to spend a fucking 45er describing to you my controller preferences is simply because I just want to make sure that like you can follow how I got here. I want you to see the breadcrumbs I left behind me. And at any given moment when I find out that I was doing the wrong thing, that's all I want to do is go, well, first of all, I want to know what the right thing is, right?
The right thing is to use the mouse and keyboard.
And then the second thing I want to do is show you the breadcrumbs. You know? And if that's not enough,
you didn't have a decent PC when you were a child, so you never learned how to use a keyboard, and you grew up sad and unfulfilled.
And if that's not,
you never played Counter-Strike.
And if that's not enough, then there's not much else I can do, right? But like, to me, if I were talking to myself, I would see the breadcrumbs, right? I would see the pathway they took and go, they're comfortable sitting over here for these reasons, right? Kind of like when the lady showed up on the Maury episode about fear and about phobias, and they're like, this girl is afraid of olives. What a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, or balloons or fucking, you know,
well, here comes a plate of olives in a man in a giant olive costume. And she's like, ah! And she runs away. And then they run around the studio for a while. Fucked. And then eventually they're like, okay, get out of here. Get out of here, Maury. Get out, right? And then they sit her down. And then they go, so what's the deal? And she goes, well, when I was 6, my grandfather died. And in my culture, they put olives on your eyes before they close the casket, and they lifted me up and they put me right in his face. So I saw my dead grandfather at the same time as I saw the olives on his eyes. So when I see them, they just remind me of the worst, most horrible thing. And you go,
like,
yeah, fuck olives, right? I love olives. Oops. They're delicious.
You personally love? I don't care for olives.
I love them. I love green. I love black. I love olives. Give me more. This girl has a completely good pathway of breadcrumbs to why she fucking hates olives, right? So if I'm talking to myself, if I can see that path, then I can go, you know what? I don't agree because I love olives, but here we go. Unironic use in the way that I think this term should be used. But I can agree to disagree with you because I know why you think olives are terrible, but I love them. But your reasoning, I get it. Your pathway, I get it, right? And then I can just go like, all right, well, that's different people. That's life. And then I step off. And that, to me, if I were talking to myself, would be like, you know, sufficient. But this is me, and this is me using the term in the way that I think it's meant to be used, not the way that it was received at the time.
I know exactly what the problem is here, Woolie.
Let's go.
You're talking to me. You're talking to these people. You're talking to your brother. You're talking to whoever, as if they were like you and want a genuine answer with logic and rules and all that shit.
Yep.
I have experience talking to people that I know don't think like me, because why the fuck would you think that centipedes could get into a can? They obviously can't, but I thought they did. You can't talk to other people like they're you. No one's going to understand you.
Right.
That's why I just go, ha, ha, ha. They could have gotten the can with their strong mandibles.
Right. And as a result, no, you are insincere, Woolie. You don't admit you're wrong. And we always see you not admitting you're wrong. And it's like, what led to that pathway of thought? What led to that complete divergence from my intent? And it was like, well, it looked like you were trying to explain your choices away and defend them, and thus not actually understand the problem. And thus,
if you want to put,
I get it.
Put this into a single sentence, is the way that you explain how you got there sounds a lot like, it reminds people of people in their lives that are just completely full of shit all the time.
Right. No, I get it. I get it. I super get it. Fuck me, that sucks.
It's basically chat's fault.
It's who I am. It's literally who I am. It's literally who I am. Straight up.
And all this because of crouch jumping, huh?
All this because of crouch jumping, bro. It's a single item. You can toggle it on. It auto does it now.
Yeah, it auto does it.
Fascinating.
But what if it didn't, though, man?
I don't
even know what crouch is on the controller.
I actually modded the INI file so that when I...
Oh my god.
Now, to be fair, this was a problem on... Let me finish. Please? Please let me finish. It's not what you think. Let me finish. It's not what you think. Okay? You're about to think, you're like, you did that instead of just submitting. And what I'm about to say is, no, this was a problem on the keyboard as well.
Okay.
I wanted crouch to be a toggle, but in the game, it was a hold. And I like a crouch toggle instead of a hold. So I modded...
You can do that with any file.
I modded the... yeah. There's a thing you could... Someone had a solution for it, and then you just paste it in, and then when you tap shift, the toggle stays crouched as opposed to a hold. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Stop. Chill. Everybody chill.
Everybody fucking relax.
God damn. Put your guns down.
All right, let's find out where that poll is at. We are at 58-41 and a half. You have won at a smooth 60%, but 40% of those people would rather take off all their clothes than use a controller mouse.
By the way, just before we swerve off of this, I would just like to also give a special message from the future to anyone who did not listen to the full conversation or any other conversation in its entirety, but has decided to pause things, come in, and start talking about the half thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And give giant righteous fury about half thoughts before you got to the end of the conversation. You can go fuck yourself.
I can't believe I spent this whole time bullying you. Can you believe that?
At least get through the fucking conversation. And then, you know what? If a callback happens in the letters, then hey, it is what it is. I still prefer you fucking listen before. But the half thoughts, though, guys, stop it.